Hello, I am Johannes from Avatar, and you're lucky because you are not. And you're watching Metal Memes MX.
Yeah, that's one of the best ones so
Okay,
far.
good. Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. What's up, everybody? Today I'm joined here by the frontman of the band Avatar from Sweden. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. Thank you. I'm sitting talking to a bunch of Latin Americans about going to Latin America, and it's exciting. Thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm really good. Here's a little bit hot, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that part, believe me. Now almost all the snow is gone where I live, but just almost. So no, I can deal. I wouldn't mind dealing with some heat.
So, well, actually, my first question, it's got a little bit to do with this. I've seen
Hmm.
over the years that a lot of bands have this connection with the Mexican fans specifically.
Hmm.
And you guys, over the last maybe 5 or 6 years, have been creating this really good connection between you and the Mexican fans. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think it's the factor or factors that make this connection possible?
I think the factor is Mexicans.
Mm.
Uh, why I say that is well, my feeling is always because I can't say specifically in our case what it is that makes it work someplace and less someplace else and amazing somewhere. That is very hard for me to analyze. But what I do know is that it's true. Like 5 years ago, we got to go to Mexico for the first time, finally. And I was because the first time is always the hardest. Uh, then the pandemic got in between, so then we had to go for the first time a second time, which we did. And okay, now after the races, now we can finally now promoters, we showed our faces over there and see, this is cool. Can we come again, please? And now that's finally happening, and we're having an amazing start, it seems. Especially, with Mexico City being sold out, and we had to have a second show, and I think Monterrey is also sold out. Like it's really uh for being our first try, it's absolutely amazing. And when it comes to the shows we played there, I mean, it's it's hard to analyze this without falling straight into just making it easy for yourself and going on stereotypes. Because I know that there are many extroverted Swedes and there are many introverted Mexicans. Of course there is, of course. Now, it seems to me the culture in general encourages in Mexico, as it does, for instance, also in Southern Europe, that there is a that you when something is going on, something good is going on, you participate, you make yourself part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that if you go out to have a good time, you are also kind of obligated to, it seems, and very willing to be part of that good time happening, and which I think is a very healthy thing to do. And I think there can be a problem in Northern Europe. The culture, the way I've grown up, is that you go out and hopefully the good time will happen to you, will happen on you, Um, so there's that active participation in the culture that then when you are a Scandinavian death metal band, or whatever, a Scandinavian metal band, and you go to a country like Mexico, you get that feeling, wow, we were really good today. Well, maybe you were as good as or as bad as you always are, but you get that vocal participation. And that feeds into you, and then you probably get even better because of it. So I think because that is kind of built in how you do it, how you have a good time. You get a lot for free, and that puts you in a really good mood, and you want to do it again. So that is part of the relationship building. And then it seems in Latin America at large that uh, metal, I mean, metal is all over the planet. And I mean, it doesn't matter if the metalhead is sitting on fucking Greenland or in Mexico City, it means the world to them. With that being said, it seems like there's the subculture of metal still has some kind of good stronghold. in Latin America overall, obviously. And I'm had the opportunity to see more of it in Mexico at this point. So I mean, there are a bunch of metalheads who know how to have a good time, and that makes our job a bit easier. And how it started, I don't know, because before that first show 5 years ago, Mexico and Brazil were probably the two countries where we, in social media, you always get this, come to blah. And there was an over representation of, well, probably Mexico was number one for years and years. And we were nagging for years. We want to go. We have to go. There's a whole thing here that we should be doing. And like I said, first time is the hardest. But now already we haven't even started. And already it's a proof of concept that now this can start to become a normal thing for Avatar to do. And that's the idea.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool answer. And yeah, the Mexican fans are crazy. Like they give all their energy to the bands and stuff like this. And I ask you this question because I remember about 2 years ago or something when you played Hell and Heaven. I was there, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, we're going to see Avatar. We're going to see Avatar." And I was like, "Oh, this is really cool," because a lot of people wanted to see live. And we also have this podcast, a live podcast on the weekends, and the people that comment on our YouTube stream, they're always talking about, like, for example, you guys and stuff like this. So I know there's a huge connection between some bands and the Mexican fans. That's why I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you this.
And it's hard, like I say, hard to analyze because I was in Mexico City in my own time, so to speak. My wife had a conference. So I went, not with a band, just with her. So, and being her plus one basically. And I that thing that it doesn't happen if you're in a metal band usually, but we were at a restaurant and I asked the waitress where the bathroom was and she recognized me. And I mean that's very random, of course, but for that to happen at all, the likelihood, to be randomly recognized, I don't, when I walk around in Germany, that I do from time to time, it doesn't happen very often. So to me, that's still a sign of that we have been more in the consciousness of, in the Mexican consciousness than we deserve at this point. So, and how that started, I don't know, but I'll take it. I'm grateful.
Oh, it's well deserved, I think.
Thank you. No,
Yeah,
no, it's not because we haven't toured there yet.
yeah.
So it's not. It's great, but I mean, you as the Mexicans have put in more work than we have. If it would happen in Wisconsin, then yeah, it's kind of well deserved because we go there all the time and it's great. Now it's just you guys are just being nice to us at this point, and we will make sure to deserve it over time.
Oh, I get it, I get it. But I think you do, and I think you will if you
Well,
don't
thank
already.
you.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of Mexico, any Mexican food like you relate to? Like, do you have a favorite?
Um, yeah, a whole lot of it. I mean, the one thing that I got to eat in Mexico that I hadn't tried before, I think it's called like flautas, it's like
Oh,
flutes.
yeah, yeah.
So when you roll the corn thing and you fry it, so it's crispy and there was like a mushroom filling in it. Uh, that's a Mexican dish that I hadn't had outside of Mexico. So it's special to me because, you know, it's in this day and age, it's not impossible to find good Mexican food. Even in Helsinki, I know a couple of places. But that one was a first on location, and I thought that was great. So that's my pick.
Yeah, those are really good. I
Mm.
I and yeah, you will not find them anywhere else. Like,
No, they're not as secure because a good burrito you find.
yeah.
Although I had some on this last European tour, I had some shitty burritos as well. So I'm looking forward to go to Mexico and make it right for myself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, here the food's really good, so I think you'll find it.
Mm. Oh yeah.
So, well, for my third question, we did like a game on our social media, and I
Hmm.
asked the Mexican fans if if they wanted to ask some question, and we were going to pick one. And I think this one is really interesting. This one is from Calv77, and he asked, what is the key factor to be a successful band, or a successful metal band, actually?
I think the key factor to be successful at anything, it's always the basics. You know, we can basically say to show up. And that means, you know, to show up in the rehearsal room over and over again, to show up to take, because I mean, for instance, a lot of our success in Europe, we can trace back in our history to 11 years ago, we opened for Avenged Sevenfold and Five Finger Death Punch. And that was a huge turnaround for us in Europe that we have built upon that since then. And a lot of things, like good things has happened. So if you want, so my advice could be to you, you want to be a successful metal band, open for Avenged Sevenfold and Five Finger Death Punch. But that's not really it. But the thing that I think that put us in that position, and that one specifically, we were just a bit lucky. But luck is when, you know, opportunity meets preparation. So nobody cared. When nobody cared, that I think was the key to that. We were kind of there for it when people started caring, or we had a chance to make people care. So that persistency, and what that means is that we were one of those bands that rehearsed more than the other bands we knew. John would have put a click track in his ears, and we would take the songs we were playing, we would take them down to half tempo and play them together from half tempo in 10 steps up to the full tempo. We would basically, you know, how you practice shredding if you sit alone with your guitar, we did that as a band in the dark, which for me as a singer, this made me just fall asleep. But for the other guys, it was great because then they had to practice not to look. And then I listened to a podcast where Mikael Åkerfeldt from Opeth was talking about them rehearsing and then rehearsing in the dark, so they wouldn't look at their instruments when they stood on stage. Like, fuck yeah, like that is, they are doing what they do, you know, very different from us in so many ways. But those fundamentals of play the songs 100 times in the dark, take every opportunity you can, and when you write, when you perform, you don't have to compete with other bands in the sense that you despise each other, or you don't need to be rivals. You can be friends, and still there can be this friendly competition of that we also have within the band as songwriters, like, wow, he did something good, I'm gonna show him by doing something good, you know. And in our mind, I think because we had this crazy high ambitions and aspirations early on, you know, in my mind, we were kind of competing with Iron Maiden when we played for 5 people. Just in my mind, like, you have to try to be that good. We had no idea how to be that good, and I don't know if we still know. And I don't know if we have any clue today on how to be that good, but that's kind of the competition, but a competition with something that we love and admire. So that driving force to not settle for less and to ask the hard questions about what you're doing and can you be better, you know, and all this. See, I'm trying to think all the time, what's the one, because they asked for the one key, and that persistency, meaning show up and just do it more than anyone else. That is a huge key to it. And to be able to do that, maybe the most important thing, the one thing I'm the proudest of with our band, is that we have had one main member change since we were 16, 15 years old. One guy quit, and he's still a friend, you know. Simon lives in Stockholm now, and he hangs out when we play there and everything. He just wanted a different life. And we have done whatever we can to stay together. Uh, and I mean, there are a lot of successful bands that change members, but for us to do specifically the things the way we do it, the way we feel is important to do it, this is a huge part. So we had business discussions, money discussions, when the money was the equivalent of, I don't know, $10. Like it was nothing to discuss, but we kind of made the deal of how is this going to work? And because we were able to deal with that and work through problems, the fights that you would have when you were young, we had a lot of those fights early on. So we can have less fights now. So do what you can to first find the people who are crazy and stupid enough to want to do this, because the road to success and the road to failure are very, very similar. You have to give everything and sacrifice a lot, and which is a terrible idea statistically speaking. So, um, so if you find the right people, then you have to work it out with those people, and then you just keep showing up, and everything else you will learn along the way. Mike Tyson doesn't believe in talent; he believes in dedication,
Yeah.
and I agree.
Yeah, of course. Actually, Mike Tyson has one of my favorite quotes, and he's like, "Discipline is the thing you hate to do, and you do it like you love to do that shit." So
Yeah.
that's really cool. And actually, going a little bit backwards here on what you were saying, there's two
Mm.
things specifically that really connected with me, at least. And well, one of those things, it's the thing in the dark, like to practice in the dark. That's a
Mm.
really good tip, because for example, I have a band also, and we've never done that before, and I think that would be like a game changer for live execution. So that's a really good tip.
Yeah. And to
And
just set the goals, like if you go to the gym, which we didn't back then, but I do now, uh, to set the goals before the, because if you just, what we're gonna do now, when you play, and then you play for as long as it's fun, and it's not fun for that long to just stand and play through the songs. But I think the key was that we decided beforehand, okay, we're gonna do 10 steps of this one, 5 steps of that one today, and then you switch next day, and you work through all your material like that. And because it was said before we started, then you kind of had to do it.
yeah,
Oh,
of
sorry, I
course.
interrupted you.
Oh no, no worries, no worries. Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And well, the second thing I was going to tell you, it's the friendship thing, not only between the members of the band, which is I think super important, but also to create friends with other bands, as you were saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, for example, we have played in a few states here in Mexico, and we usually try to make friends with other bands because maybe they are from other state, and maybe we can go play with them someday, and
Exactly.
they can come play with us someday to our state, and stuff like this, you know.
That is always good, and especially early on, we did a lot of that. We were from the Gothenburg area, and then someone was from 2-3 hours with a car south, and then 2 hours more was the next band, and we could make a weekend tour like that, because no one has a booking agent in the beginning, no one has a manager in the beginning, but you have each other, and you have, Sweden was the youth centers that would have stages and stuff, and you could, organize it like that. Okay, we do one, you do one, and then we had, I don't remember how many shows like that we did, but we did a bunch with bands we became friends with back then. And then some of those relationships keep on lasting, and then you have the transition to where it becomes more and more professional, and from those people, those bands, not everyone, not all, most bands don't continue. But there's a guy who used to be one of those bands, that's Aron Parmerud, who has done orchestrations and stuff for us on Feathers and Flesh and Avatar Country are the two albums he helped with orchestration arrangements, and a lot of other things. So and those people, those relationships and the networking, it starts there. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree 100%. Because yeah, when you were saying that, I was like, this guy, it's very right about that. Because it makes no sense to create like enemies between bands
No.
or like to watch them as I'm competing with this. Like it's not like combat sports or anything like this, you know.
No, and but we did that with some bands, and some bands did it with us. And you talk because you're immature and you have a lot to prove, and you kind of, if you can't elevate yourself, you put other people down. You know, those are all humans' shortcomings. That I'm not gonna pretend that we never did that, but we learned not to do it. Um, and I want to, oh, among again those bands, the people that we used to play with back then, one of them was a drummer who was in that band with the orchestra guy, Aron. Then he was in this band Angel when Niklas sang it from In Flames a bit. Now he's our production manager and designs our stage show with us. So again, long, I guess it's funny how um, in the stereotype of what it is to be a guy or girl in a band is this very, I don't know, very decadent or very unfaithful thing, or very flaky, and you're just there one day, gone the next. When in reality, when I see what seems to be working in this businesses are people who like long-term relationships.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree.
And being in a band is a extremely, you know, we are married to each other. We are about as close as you can. As this Geezer Butler said this in some thing I saw many years ago about Black Sabbath, but that we are as close as straight guys can be. The next step would be you know, sexual. That's the only part that isn't there, because we are truly a family, a brotherhood, business partner, artists, everything all at once, which is tricky to navigate and to figure out and takes work. So don't leave on the first bad day. Try to figure it out, you know, along the way, if you really want to do this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree 100% with that, and I think that will make even any band grow. Like, I don't know, maybe they won't be Metallica in the end, but maybe they will have some fans.
Yeah.
And
And because then if when this is in place, then you can start to try to be a good band.
yeah,
And that is, you know, work on your songs, work on your stage performance, work on your band pictures. What does it matter to you what a band looks like? Okay, so then what are you gonna look like? How do you want to perform? How good of a musician do you need to be to perform on that level? How good in shape physically do you have to be to perform on that level? If you like Bruce Dickinson jumping around and you know, and being able to sing while doing that cardio exercise at the same time. Okay, so what does that take? Oh shit, I have to do push-ups now. You know, like that all comes, that's all extra, just build upon that foundation that we've been talking about.
yeah, of course, of course. Well, Johannes, thank you so very much for your time, man. I had a blast
Thank
talking to
you.
you today. I don't
Likewise,
know,
thank you.
I don't know if you want to add maybe the social media of the band or yours.
I probably should, shouldn't I? Well, well, I can take maybe at least I would say this. Like I'm on Avatar is everywhere. Avatar metal usually. What we call we left X because it just turned too pointless to be there. But I'm on Instagram and it's Johannes underscore Avatar. And because and I will tell you this, and I speak for every single artist in the world right now. None of us will DM any of you listening or watching this right now to ask you for money. There's a plague of a scams going on right now, and and people need to be educated about this because I almost don't feel bad for people falling for it many times. I can understand the wishful thinking of like, oh, Ozzy Osbourne needs $100 and I'm a huge fan, you know, but the thing is, uh, I am only on Instagram right now. Well, I'm on Facebook, but I won't accept your friend request. But I'm on Instagram and I won't DM you there either. And that goes for pretty much every artist out there.
Yes, of
So
course.
don't be scammed.
Yeah, don't be scammed. Well, everybody, Avatar in Mexico, touring a lot of cities. Go watch them live. You won't regret it.